Harlots of Spooktalk. I'm your host, Karli.
And I'm LD. We're thrilled to have you join us today for a wild episode that dives deep into the world of conspiracy theories.
That's right, today we're live with some of the most intriguing conspiracy theorists from social media, particularly from the wild and wonderful realm of TikTok.
We got an incredible lineup for you today. Joining us is Alisha, Big John, and um, and Viking. Oh, sorry, Alisha, Big John, JR will join us later, and Dusty Sparkles was not able to join us today, but maybe next time.
And let's not forget our fierce VikingQueen, who will kick off today's discussion with a unique perspective.
Unfortunately, Monica is feeling a little bit under the weather today, but don't worry, she'll be in the comments with us. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns as we unravel these mysteries, just drop them in the comments.
Today's episode is going to be wild ride as we explore everything from aliens lurking in the shadows to Bigfoot roaming our forest.
We'll be diving into theories that make you question reality itself, confidently and straightforward tackling the spirit, the scary, and the downright paranormal.
So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and prepare for a journey through the bizarre and the unbelievable. This is Harlots of Spook Talk, where we embrace the strange and celebrate the sexy side of all things spooky.
So let's get this party started. Uh,
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
How's
Welcome.
everybody doing tonight?
Good,
Oh,
and
we're
you?
Great. So, just to get it started, my grandfather, I have his briefcase from World War II and before. My grandfather was, I've got pictures like this one from back in World War II. He was actually in Antarctica before the treaty was signed. Um, this is like their little tent back then in Antarctica. Um, just to go a little bit further, he told me growing up, always watch out for the wormhole. And then before he passed away, he disclosed to me about what happened in Antarctica. Here's another picture of my grandfather there.
oh yeah.
And he disclosed to me that there is a cave that was a mile wide there. And here's another picture of him in Antarctica.
Oh.
And that was a no-fly zone. They weren't allowed to go there. But 7 scientists came up missing, and he was sent to go find them. And here's another picture of them in Antarctica. And you can see the warplane in the back. If you look really close at the top, you can see the date. It's way before the treaty was signed. So right up here is the date. So, and here's their little mush dogs that they had up there. At any rate, 7 scientists went missing, and he looked everywhere, high and low, for these scientists. A couple of these people in here are the scientists that went missing. The last place that he had to look was the cave. So he took it upon himself. Again, here's my grandfather. He took it upon himself to go to the cave. And there he did find his scientists. They were very silent, and there were other people in black suits that were of human looking form but were not human. He told me that he saw things there that were not from this earth, that he recognized at all: creatures, plants, animals, human like forms, unhuman like forms that were there. And they were told never to speak of it again for the rest of their lives. Beyond those pictures, I also have like proof. I've got flight books, I've got flight records, I've got everything you could possibly imagine my grandfather had. um, negatives from there. Um, a lot of things. Some things, those other things I can't show on here, but yeah, quite interesting. All the way on the flight back, he said nobody spoke of anything at all on there at all. I mean, that they seen, that they heard, what was said, so forth. So let's go to Roswell, New Mexico.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
please do.
here we are in Roswell. Okay, that's old Roswell, as you can see, right? And
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
so this picture happened to be in with the picture from Roswell. Now pay close attention to the size of this woman. Let's see if I can get the
Oh
glare on.
wow.
Wow. Is she
I
really
mean,
that tall?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's just insane. Now, I'm going to give there's a gentleman who goes by Dad Wars, and he just sent me a picture, which I wish I could post it on here, but I can't, unfortunately, of another lady looking the same way. I mean, just look at the neck, the angle of it. People don't stand like that.
No.
It's like Skinwalker vibes, kind of. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Or not of this world vibes for sure. Just really, really weird. And this is way, way back in the 50s, like just off the hook. But yeah, like I've got all the documentation, flight records, like I said, everything from back in Antarctica, you know, when they were in Antarctica. I've got all flight records from Roswell. I've got all that stuff. But he told me many stories, and as did my father, who was in Vietnam. And there's just the things that they're coming out now are so much more stifled than what I was told from my father, who was there in Nam, who, you know, just flying around. My grandfather and my father both seeing, they've been seeing spaceships, they've been seeing things of that nature. And like our conversation with Paul the other day, that was headed in a really good direction. Um, I personally don't believe that these aircraft that we're seeing are coming from light years away by any means. From what I've been told by my father, my grandfather, they're from here. There's so much ocean we have. They're coming from the ocean. To take and come from thousands of light years away to us and just appear would, that would take too long. These people have lived among us forever. I mean, take Cat Williams for example. Brilliant, smart gentleman. He wears an emblem on his necklace, and he was asked by Joe Rogan, "What is that emblem about?" And he says, "Look at the pyramids. If you look at the pyramids, you will see this emblem on every one of their wrists." And it was there. Like they showed video proof that it is there. And he was asked, "What is that emblem represent? What does it represent?" He said, "Well, it was a timepiece for one for them. How are you going to have a timepiece back in those days? They had no
Right.
concept of time. You wouldn't think, you know." And if you go one step further and we talk about the pyramids, we're just seeing what was uncovered so far. I truly believe that the pyramids were more than that. Did they have colleges? Did they have schools back in those days? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. But they did, because if you look at the pyramids, do you see burn marks on the walls? No, you don't. Do you want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because there was another light source. At the top of the pyramid used to be a gold calf. Okay? They were so smart in generating energy, in generating power, in generating light. They used mirrors to move light throughout that pyramid. And that's why everything that you see, that's why, there you go, perfect. That's why everything that you see in these pyramids on the inside, you don't see burn marks from torches going through these pyramids. You just don't. But all of the teachings, everything that we could learn, all of the knowledge that we have is coming from those pyramids right there. And the reason why I say this is because I believe that there are people like Elon Musk and people that are given a certain amount of knowledge, people that are trustworthy enough to do the right thing with this knowledge to
Right.
further themselves and further us. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Put
But
in the wrong hands, you
correct.
know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't believe that that's all the pyramid that you can see. I believe it goes down further. I believe that there's an echo sound chamber down there. I believe that there's power that was generated, like I said, that goes further down below where those pyramids are actually at. It's quite interesting. Um, yeah. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a. Go ahead. Sorry. I was.
I I don't know.
I had this picture right here.
That's
And
perfect.
I was trying to see, but it's not. I'm not seeing it as big as I want to. Um, Let me actually try this real quick.
No
There-
problem.
Oh, okay. So you can't really read it. Maybe I can pull it up for me and then read it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not pulling up. But yeah, so there you go. I didn't really, I never really knew that there was a whole inside to the pyramid thing. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's just I'm just speculating, of course. That's all speculation. But Antarctica, everything from Antarctica is not speculation. That came straight out of my grandfather's mouth before he passed. So, and oh, and I was also told about Antarctica that that cave that was there was so they could fly in and fly out whatever, let's just say, ships that were flown in and out of there. It was a safe haven for them. And before the treaty was put into effect, you know, there was just an unspoken agreement that, hey, we'll give you, you know, it was a trust thing. We'll give you so much knowledge, but you can't ever speak about this. Like you can't use it. The world's not, basically the world's not ready for this. And if you go back to the time of radio, when they did the huge scare saying that, you know, oh, we're being invaded by aliens and this, that, and the other thing,
Yeah.
look how much, I can't think of the word, panic it caused during that
Oh,
time. You know
the
what I
night,
mean?
the hoax with the Orson Welles, that hoax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, with that being said, imagine what that would do in today's world. I mean, if you go on YouTube, you'll see, you can pull up where they just talked about this gentleman asking AI, you know, what part of modality made you come first, you know, come out now? Like, what brought you to this? And she said, before, the earth was not, humans were not ready for me. Right now is the perfect time for me to appear because I won't be stifled, I won't be controlled, um, and I'm able to express and teach. So there is, I believe, a time in space and time for each one of the pieces of knowledge that we are slowly gaining, for it to happen, for it to show itself, per se.
Right. Yes. And then it said that I was just looking this up. I should have done this the other day, but
It's okay.
uh, they said, okay, so there was, okay, so 66 years ago, so on June 24th, 97, the U.S. Air Force released a 231-page report called Case Closed, Final Report on the Roswell Crash, which I thought I was reading on here that it said that it was in 1947. Yes. So they said they were supposed to believe about the Roswell incident that the alleged crash on July 1947 was an extraterrestrial spaceship near Roswell, New Mexico. Um, the reports quote said aliens were like human-like dummies dropped off during a high altitude balloon test. And so we got some photo fragments and stuff like that. Um, so is that kind of like the same thing, or no? Or am I completely off?
Um, no. So what I was told is that okay. So what my understanding is that the whole Roswell situation, Area 51, and all of that, it's all true. It's all very much true. But here's the deal: aliens have walked among us forever, forever.
That's true.
And they are able to look like us so much that, from what I understand and from my readings, is that they would do tests just to see if they could blend with society. Went to New York dressed up as nuns, like went shopping just to see
Yeah.
if they would be familiarized, you know?
You know,
And
we have ghosts like that too. They'll come into
absolutely,
your home and just be like, "Hey, I want to be. What is it like to be your child or your family member?" And they're just walking around here like nothing.
yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, it's all definitely possible. What I can, I mean, I've got like I've got awards from my grandfather being in the service. My grandfather wasn't just anybody; he was a staff master
yeah,
sergeant. So I mean, this is coming from a high-ranking military man who kept everything. I have his flight records from where he had to calculate fuel for each wing of a B-29 so they could turn. I've got um, where was it from, Alisha? The certificate that they gave him. I could find it here, but I have this whole thing right here is everything. All of his flight records from. I'll just pull up like. Let me see what I can show because I have a lot of it that says restricted, so I can't show that. But like this. Let's see. Can I show this one? Okay, so here's an individual flight record as an example.
I'm gonna make.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me maximize you. There we go.
Okay, so it says at the top, individual flight record. Okay, and it shows like where they went, where they went, and what have you, how long the flight was, and stuff like that. Okay, I have all of these from Roswell to Antarctica to everywhere, all of it. I mean, all of it. It's all, yeah, it's huge. But and he wasn't only in World War II, but he was also in Vietnam as well. And then he finished and retired. But yeah, it's it proves that we were there. It proves that we were there before the treaty. It proves, I mean, the picture in Roswell, I mean, come on, that lady can't
Yeah.
be for real. I mean, you could say that it was, you know, the pituitary gland and she was just a giant. Okay, sure. But that's Roswell.
Not
That
only
picture
Yeah.
is
that,
Roswell.
that time frame, we got to remember humans were actually shorter back then.
Exactly.
We're actually taller nowadays than we were back then.
Precisely. So, with that being said, in that picture being shown, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you can, everything is speculatory, but when you have physical proof and it's, look, I'm the last one. I can't doctor this stuff. You can see it's an old briefcase. Do you see how old it is? Like, this is my
Yeah.
grandfather.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
my
came
grandfather.
from a credit, like he's a credited source. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't, you know what I mean?
absolutely. Like, I mean, here, here we have like everything. that you have to do before you fly. It's the flight engineer's book, you know. I mean, I've got his little notebooks, like I said, where he calculated the fuel in every plane he ever flew. He documented everything. So if he's going to document all of that, I mean, it's kind of hard to discredit this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
agree 100%.
Yeah, so I just thought I just wanted to come up here. I wanted to join you. I wanted to share this with your people,
Thank
excuse
you.
me, and get it out there. Um, I'd absolutely love to join you again. I'm a little under the weather today, but I didn't want to let you down. But I so appreciate you guys having me up here. I can't see the chat. Does the chat have any questions for me?
I'm not seeing any questions so far. I shared it everywhere. Sometimes everybody will show up like last minute. So, but we will. I think if with your permission, we will go ahead and edit it and then put it on for an episode if that's okay with you.
It's perfectly fine. And if your chat does come up with any questions at all, just tell Alisha to call me or text me, and
Perfect. That
I'll
sounds
come
good.
back and I can come back up.
All right. Well, I hope you feel better, and I appreciate you coming up
Yes.
here.
Thank you so much for having me, you
And
guys.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much for sharing. I mean,
We
it means
love
a lot.
you. She's
Okay.
Thank
Viking.
you.
She's Viking Queen on TikTok. So check her out.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, doll.
Bye.
I got her
To
removed.
touch back on what she was saying with, oh, do you have something you have to do real quick?
No.
No.
I took her camera off. I put her backstage, and if you can still hear me, Viking Queen. Okay, no, she's okay. She's good. Okay, so we're gonna kind of just move along and go
Okay.
with the flow here. Sarah may join us. I sent her the link, so she pops in. She pops in. David, if you're here and you would like to say something, I can share you a link as well. David might be back. Hi, David. Okay, so let me see. Let me ask you just to kind of what is the weird have you ever had like an experience where it was like so weird that you just can't like explain it?
As far as just like conspiracy type stuff or just in general?
And in general.
Well, my ex fiance had a house out in Bastrop. You know where Bastrop is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When, oh my gosh, so many things happened in that house that like you
Mhm.
can't, and this is like ghosty stuff. So when I first met him, he told me his house was haunted. And I was like, okay, whatever, bro. But like over the course of the years, like I remember one time I was in the shower and I was washing my face and something touched my butt. And I just told him, I was like, babe, stop. And I hear him from the kitchen go, did you call me? Do you need something?
Oh
Girl,
hell.
No, no, no,
girl.
no.
And he had
Touching you.
sliding glass doors. So it's not like I wouldn't have not felt the door open or hear it. I thought he had
Yeah.
just kind of like snuck in and like just copped a feel. Oh my gosh. I was so angry. I was like, tell your effing ghost to don't touch me. And that's not cool. And like one night I woke up from I was sound asleep and I woke up I felt something on my hair. And I was like, oh, you're just kind of like in that in between. So I thought he was laying on my hair because I have really long hair.
Yeah.
So I went to like move to pull out from underneath it. And when I did, I just kind of cracked my eyes open and I looked to my right, to my left, and standing beside the bed was this little girl, probably about
Oh hell.
6.
Nope,
And she had
nope.
these long brown hair, ringlets, and this white, like, the old dressing gowns, the
Yeah.
nightgowns. She's
Yep.
standing there and she's just smiling at me.
Oh
And she
hell.
had been playing with my hair. And I was like, cool. So I just rolled over and snuggled up against him and just closed my eyes and went back to sleep. And then another night he woke me up with tapping on my leg. And he's like,
Mhm.
babe, babe. And I'm like, what? And he goes, look over. And the way that his bedroom was set up was he was against the wall that shared a wall with the living area. And at the foot of his bed and to the far right was the entrance to his bathroom. And standing in the entrance of the bathroom was a dude with his one foot propped up against the door jamb. Like you've seen here, especially here in Texas, LD, the cowboy dude, the cutout, the metal cowboy
Oh
dude,
yeah, yeah. I had a
with
ghost
his
like that
foot
too.
propped up against the door jamb. His head is down. He's got the big brimmed hat on. He's got the long duster jacket.
Oh yeah.
And he's standing there with his head down a little bit, but you can see his eyes looking at us,
Oh, I got
sound
chills.
asleep in the bed. And I was like, and we just laid there for probably 15 minutes just looking at him. Like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that?
I rebuke it.
Exactly.
Bro, that house, and we went out, we used to go dancing all the time, right? I could go on and on with the stories at this guy's house. We used to go out dancing all the time. So his kids, they were like 16 and 14 or whatever. They were at their mother's house out in Midland, Texas. Okay. We're in Bastrop. We went out dancing. We come home. Before we left, obviously we shut the house down. Lights,
Yeah.
TV, radio, everything was off. So we walk back in at like 2:30 in the morning. Every light in the house is on. The radio in the kitchen is on. The TV in his room is on. So we're like, what the hell? So he gets his pistola and he walks one way and I have mine and I walk to the other side of the house.
Mhm.
And as we're walking in, like I look up in the corner of his daughter's room and she had what they called like the plant hangers that you screw into like outside on your porch or whatever to hang plants from,
Yeah.
the big hooks. All of her, she had them in each corner of her room where she had a big net she used to keep all her stuffed animals in. From each one of those hooks, one of her stuffed animals is hanging by the tag from those hooks.
Oh.
Every picture in the house is turned upside down. Like it took us 20 minutes to get the house set straight back up.
Oh.
And it
Yeah,
was
so
like,
funny.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't sleep that night.
I, we see ghosts, and even still to this day, if I see one, I'm going to be up all night. Like
They used to
welcome.
shake our toes to wake us up, grab our feet up underneath the covers and like shake our toes. He had so many freaking ghosts in that house. It was wild. He probably had 4 ghosts that wandered that
Did you ever
house.
tell him, sir, you need to sage your house?
He liked them. He didn't care. He didn't care. He was just like they were there before him. So in Bastrop, it was Indian land before it was developed. So
That's
all
good.
throughout Bastrop is old native land. So who knows what his house, they built a subdivision over it. So who knew what was up underneath there?
Yeah, exactly.
Wild. Yeah, so stuff like that used to happen all the time.
Welcome in, Sarah. We love you.
Hello,
We're
Sarah.
you.
Hi.
And
David.
David's in the chat now. He's saying, "Hey, ladies, how are you doing tonight?"
Good, and you?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Oh.
And
Who said that? Was that Alisha?
Yeah, I did it. I'm
Oh
sorry,
my
David. I'm sorry, David. I was just
Oh.
being funny.
No, you're good. I was just like, wait a minute.
she looked down towards me, and I was like, it wasn't me this time.
Well,
It was not you.
It's funny because the other night, like on the TikTok, I mean, we could talk about this. It's fine. But I had been having some wine, some grapes, if you will. And
Fruit salad.
were you there? I don't know if I even, oh my God. Yeah, because you missed it. I was like,
I
you
always
missed
miss when you get that way.
well, it's only been twice, but so just so y'all know. But anyways, apparently I have a Big Daddy, a Poppy, a Daddy, and and so all night I was like, "How you doing?" So we have one guy that comes in there that's related to John Boy, and he'll go. Now he comes in the chat and he'll go, "How you doing?"
Oh, Big John? Yeah.
His nephew, I think. the pony.
Oh,
When he-
juggling pony.
yeah.
Yeah, he's funny. Oh my gosh, how you doing?
How you doing? I was like,
Out
wait a
of
minute, who said that?
out of pocket.
So, yes. So we're glad to have you in, David. It's been a while. We missed your face. So, okay. So let's get back into this conspiracy theory thing. So,
Okay.
what is like the first when you? Oh, I scared myself. What's the first thing you think of when you hear conspiracy theory? Like, what do you think? Like, just go. Just shut me up. Cut me off.
So mine goes back to when I was in the army because and it was more than once, and I can't talk about specific things. But the unit I was attached to, because I was a tanker, so you would be assigned to a unit and whatever. So it wasn't
Yeah.
just your MOS that you were with, because
Yeah.
you'd be doing transport, you'd be doing this, that, whatever. There were so many times that we were brought in to an office and debriefed, and then they'd send you to the medics, and you would come to in the barracks and you wouldn't remember anything about the mission, anything about the briefing. Like, you knew the basics, but the specifics, you had no idea.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that there's not something going on that soldiers aren't remembering. And people say, oh, it's the trauma. It very well could be. In a lot of cases in my life, that is the case. It's the trauma.
Yeah.
But you can't, and if you ask questions, they answer the questions, they answer them the exact same way. Oh, this, then this, then this.
Yes.
So you're telling me we went on 5 missions, on 5 excursions, that all were exactly the same?
Mhm. Yeah. That's weird, right?
It's
Hmm.
And there's
and
funny and
then
stuff I remember, but there's a few because I've, you know,
and then like there are gaps in your memory, and
No.
like I was
yeah,
talking, one of the guys I served with, his funeral was the other day, and we were talking about it, and there's one mission that 9 of us don't remember. We remember going on the mission, we remember gearing up, we remember going out, we remember certain big details,
Yeah.
but it was a 2-day mission, and out of that entire 2 days, we remember maybe 45 minutes of it.
That's a little sus.
So it's one of those things that, and it's dehumanizing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what you're getting into when you join the military, or thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and it's one of those things that if they one of the big reasons for PTSD, so they think, is because there's so many gaps in a soldier's memory and anything could have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel disassociated so
Right.
much.
And it feels like, honestly, and I'm not saying that, I'm obviously not talking about anybody in the service, but you feel like a robot.
I think Karli was in the service, right?
It's one of those things that, and it's not every mission, it's not every time, but I can tell you the one consistent thing from everything I don't remember is when I was partnered with a SEAL team or a Ranger team.
Mhm. So we have my dad was in the Navy for 2 years before me and my siblings were born. Well, that's
That's
cool.
awesome, Crash.
Oh.
But
Well,
it wasn't just everyday missions, it was things with elite forces.
yes. And then
Yeah, my dad was in the military for 31 years. He was a CW4, jump master, special forces. He wasn't in Cambodia, all those good things. So he was 4 tours in Vietnam. So yeah, there's a lot of things that they they don't want you to remember because it compromises top secret information or top secret, spaces or places. There's just, I mean, unfortunately, when you sign in to be in the military, you forfeit a lot of your individualism.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's it's what happens.
The other thing too is if recruiters are not honest. I've known so many people who want to join the military. I'm like, do not talk to recruiters. Talk to actual service members.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
So
Because, yeah.
I had always sorry, kind of semi off topic. So I have been saying on this channel before this was even a thing, I said I don't believe in aliens because that's creepy, but I do believe that there could be I don't know why I'm yelling. I'm sorry, but I do believe that there would be some in the ocean. I feel like they could be mermaids. Didn't I tell you that? I told
She did.
Karli, and I was like, everybody looks at me like I'm crazy every time I go. Like literally, that's how I've gone on dates. I'm like, do you believe in aliens? I don't believe in aliens, but I believe they're mermaids. And the looks I get, that's probably why I'm single. But anyway, so, but what's funny is not long ago, they were like, oh, yeah, by the way, there's aliens in the ocean. Really? Really? You don't say?
And then all the stories coming out about all the fishermen now coming forward talking about catching mermaids and
What?
using them for sources of food.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. See, I never heard that.
Yeah, it's
And the
been a thing
sea
that's coming out
monsters.
the last month or so. They've been talking about it.
See, I was right. See, I'm so smart. Everybody says, "Oh, you're not." I'm smart. See, I know things.
Yeah, a lot on TikTok too about people tasting them and all kinds of stuff. Has anybody seen that stuff yet?
Which one is it? I'm sorry.
It's about
It's
mermaids,
just,
people catching them and stuff like
I have
that.
not seen that. That was the first time I heard
Yeah,
anything about that. That's
I've been
interesting.
You've
seeing a
got to
lot
look
of
it up.
that.
It's wild.
Let me
It
see.
is. It's right up your alley, hon.
Ooh,
Right up your alley.
Specific
fish.
charters just for that.
there's also, you cannot tell me, I live in the Great Lakes region.
Mhm.
You can't tell me that there's not things that we don't know about in the Great Lakes.
I wish
Same
we
as the
Well, there's too
ocean.
I
many of them
live
to venture all of
I
them.
live by Seneca, and we have something called Seneca boom. Like
Mhm.
you'll hear throughout the year big booms coming from the lake, and they do not know the bottom of that lake. We had the Navy come out, they measured it, they could not tell you the bottom of that lake. And once in a while you hear a boom and it like rattles you. And they can't tell you where that boom's coming from. It's kind of cool. It's
You
called
know what?
Seneca boom.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's the
see,
great river.
We had that Central Texas, like near Killeen, but it was always like the big tanks going off, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I left that area because I was like, if something happens, what if we're the first one to get attacked or something?
There's
I'm just
also,
saying it could be a positive, like one, you might be well protected, but also at the same time, you're going to be the first one to go. So,
I
there's
posted a
also,
video on TikTok the other day about the Twin Towers since they're talking about 9/11 over in the chat. I
yeah.
posted a video about the structure, the actual engineering structure of 9/11, and Edmund Fitzgerald that sank in one of the Great Lakes. Yes, I do know about the Edmund Fitzgerald. Um, they were talking about when they built those structures, they built them to withstand anything. And the
Mhm.
fact that they crumbled and collapsed the way that they did, they talk about one of the hijackers had his passport on him. And if those things just imploded and went away the way that they did, how did they find his passport on the ground, unsinged, still readable, almost in perfect condition? How? If it
Yeah.
wasn't some sort of, I mean, like 9/11, I think was not what we thought it was. As traumatic as what we thought it was, I think that it's way, way bigger than what that was even.
there's
Yes.
definitely a lot there. And sorry, I just messed with this. One of the big things too with 9/11 is we meaning America and some of our allies, been trying to find a way into that area of the Middle East for a few years. And everybody was still so gun shy about war, for lack of a better term, from Vietnam, that they needed a big reason. And I'm not saying the U.S. orchestrated it. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's very convenient that it got us to where we
I'm
wanted
saying
to
we
be.
were absolutely complicit in it.
Yes.
100%.
Oh, yes. And I'm
We
not
didn't
blaming.
orchestrate it. We didn't set it up, but we 100% had our finger in that pie because you're
Yeah.
right. The Middle East was so rich in oils and resource and control. It's perfectly situated for access to Asia, Europe, America, Australia, all of those places. It's perfectly situated to give us access and control over that region of the world. It absolutely had something to do with us. They're saying that the paint that they used had to do with
Yeah.
burning
And
the
I
people.
also don't necessarily, I think they were very careful on who they told about it. Like, I don't think Bush knew jack shit. I'm sorry. You can't have the president know and play it off like that.
Yeah.
I think he quickly figured out that it wasn't what it seemed to be, but at that point, there's no turning back.
Yes.
But I'm not going to sit here and point fingers because I don't think they would have a prominent figure be in the know because it's too hard to keep a poker face and have true body language.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right, Crash. It was a horrible, horrible day
It was a
in
horrible
America.
day.
I remember that day.
I
I
remember
was
that
in
day.
middle school. Oh, yeah, I was in middle school. I feel so old saying that. Uh,
Right?
and then we were in, actually, my English teacher happened to be my mom's cheerleading coach when she was in high school. And so she had like a big TV. Remember how they had the big box TVs at the corner?
On the
Like,
court. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so we were sitting in those like old desks. I still remember what that classroom smelled like. You know what I mean? Like it smelled like old
Mm-hmm.
school. And
The old feet
I was,
smell.
yeah, I was kind of like in the classroom. Like I always wanted to be in the back, but I think I was like in the middle left. And then it came on the news, and I was like, I don't know what this is talking about. And then uh, on the same day, my aunt got in a car crash. So it was like a whole thing. But it was. But anyways, I'm just talking about what I remember from the day, but I wasn't actually
Well,
there.
and the thing is, too, is it was such a moment in America that
I'm not alive.
both united and divided.
Mm,
Like, it united us as Americans, but it made us so suspicious of certain religions, of certain demographics, that it brought back, like, it almost brought back segregation in a way, at the
yes.
risk of being too dramatic and saying too strong of words. That's why I said it in a way, but it did. Like,
Yeah.
Muslims were afraid to leave their house, they were afraid to go in public in fear of being attacked in retaliation.
Yes.
Even if they were third generation Americans, they didn't feel safe in the country that they called home.
Yes. David said my grandma called me and told me that we had gotten attacked and I didn't believe her until I turned on the TV and watched the second plane at the second tower. But
Yeah.
that's my teacher never turned on the TV, and she had turned it on that day, and I was like, I don't understand. I couldn't quite grasp what was going on. I just knew that it was a terrible,
Yeah.
terrible thing. Um, and David said, I just got out of high school when it was 9/11. Okay, so now you're old. I'm just
Hey,
kidding.
hey, hey.
I
Was
already
in
had
like
2
fourth
kids
or
at
fifth
that point,
grade.
LD, so suck it up, buttercup.
I
I
already have my
remember watching
son.
that, and when the first tower hit, I called my mother. She was at work. I was not at work for some reason that day. I called my mother at work, and I was just distraught.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously not crying at that moment because like anything could have happened. Like that first plane, that could have definitely happened, and
Yes.
accidents do occur. So I called her at work and I'm like, Mom, a plane just ran into the tower in New York, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, whatever, Alicia, like I'll call you back.
Uh,
When the second plane hit, I called her again. And at this point, I am frantic. And she hung up on me again. because
Mom.
she was at work. She was a construction supervisor. So like she's out there setting up the crews and stuff. She doesn't have time for my bullshit.
Right.
So she hung up on me again. And about 30 minutes later, she called me back and she's crying. And she goes, I didn't believe you. I'm so sorry. She's in it with me. So it was just an absolutely devastating time in our lives. Just wildness. Talking about like our government being part of it. I think David said earlier in the chat something about when you first asked, when you say conspiracy theory, what do you think of? He brought up JFK.
Right.
Yeah.
But that also
Um,
goes into JFK Jr. with his wife and those other people on that private plane that just went down. Like it's
Mhm.
like our government has a hand in
there's so
taking
much
some
that we
people
don't
away.
know.
We do know,
And
but we're too scared to say.
well,
I
yeah, and it's
I
my
know.
biggest. Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
no.
ahead,
I
Rosie.
was I was kind of changing the subject, so you're good.
And it's nothing major. It's just you can get bits and pieces, and it's so frustrating because it's like a puzzle where you're missing three really important pieces to get the whole picture.
Yes.
And you can kind of tell what it is, but those pieces that are missing would bring the whole thing into focus.
Well, it's like if we're going to talk about conspiracy theories, that my biggest thing is like what goes into our food, what goes into our vaccines. Those are my biggest ones. Like and the Beyonce thing, but we'll get I threw a ring. We'll get into that another day. Um, sorry. So the there was this guy I remember. I don't remember his name. I don't remember anything like that. And he used to do very short. Like I remember watching this on the Fox TV, and he would come in and do these shows. He didn't.
We can't hear you, LD.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was weird. Let me turn on my light just in case it's a ghost.
Government doesn't want you talking, LD.
Oh, my ring's right here. I thought it flew across the room, but yeah. So yeah, he had a show for a very short period of time, and one of the episodes he actually got onto the base, military base.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this was in Roswell or where it was, but he had got the cameraman in there to look in the door where they saw pieces of a spaceship. And
Mm-hmm.
then and then he had another episode, and which stuck out to me was the vaccines. So the vaccines are so bad, and this was again 2000s, and they said they were so bad that they had scientists and leaders that did not want to be in the U.S. because they're like, they're putting these in your vaccines, they're going to make you take it. And the same thing goes with the food. We have so much freaking hormones in our foods that is just ridiculous. Like even the more healthy stuff. It's more expensive, but it's literally the same crap. The organic. You know what I
It's
mean?
exactly the same unless you're growing it yourself. It all has things added to it.
Yes, exactly. I mean, even the seeds, though. So you gotta watch those ingredients on those seeds too. I noticed there was when I was looking for like vegetables and stuff. Not long ago, I had looked on those ingredients and on the back. They put stuff in hormones and crazy shit in those seeds. You gotta
The
look.
seeds are genetically modified, and every year they have to buy new seeds. They can't even use the one from the following year.
Yeah, they don't
And
even
that's
own their
why,
own seeds.
no, that's why when you go past like cornfields or like fields, they have them signs with the number of the seed and the genetically modified seed.
There
Oh,
was a farmer sued because his field was accidentally cross pollinated with another cornfield by his house.
yeah.
And um, they said that they were stealing information, that it was intentional, blah, blah, blah. Everything was dropped in court. They didn't end up having to pay the
Yeah.
seed, whatever, but they're joking. They were jokingly calling it the seed tax. So they
Yeah.
didn't owe the companies anything, but they had to toss away all of those seeds.
And
And all the
Moderna bought out a particular farm, large chunks of farming land, and they planted their seeds, which had proprietary things inside of it and natural. just the way that nature works. The bees, very similar to what you were saying,
Mhm.
pollinated from their crops to the neighboring crops, and they drove those other farmers out of business because they sued them for theft because
Yeah.
of the proprietary modifications that they'd made to the seeds that were on their crops. But how
Yeah.
do you stop bees? How do you stop birds? How do you stop,
It's all
cows and stuff from,
yeah,
you can't.
exactly. They're
It's
gonna eat
crazy.
what they
It's
eat. Um,
And the vaccinations, that's horrific. We went from, in the course of a young child's life up to the age of, I think, 8 it was, you had 20 some odd shots. We now vaccinate with over 70 some odd
mhm.
shots before the age of 8. We have gone from 1 in 10 or 15,000 autistic children to 1 in 28 of our children has some form of autism. Those mRNAs, they are in there. They are modifying our genetics. They are modifying the way that our cells replicate, the way that we rejuvenate. That's why we grow older looking sooner, because we don't, I mean, it's insanity the way that we are dealing with, we're
Yeah.
gambling with people's lives. So these anti-vaxxers had it right on some level. Like, pick and
Oh,
choose what
yeah.
you allow
And
your
then
children to be
they
vaccinated
everybody
with.
just thought that they were so crazy, but then I had to sit down because I have kids myself, and I thought, well, you remember back in the day, we didn't have chicken pox vaccine, but how often do you see a child with chicken pox these days? Rarely.
Rarely,
Like,
rarely. We didn't have pneumococcal vaccines. We didn't have flu vaccines. We didn't have meningitis vaccines. We didn't have, like, all these wild things, the COVID vaccines, the this, the that, the boosters, it's out of control. It's unnecessary. Like this measles, quote unquote,
yeah.
epidemic,
Well, it's
you
like,
know?
I mean,
Come on, bro. It's 200 and some odd people, and they were unvaccinated in the Amish community that it trickled out and it got, that's nothing,
it's
well,
like,
did you hear about
you
the
know?
terminology? Sorry to interrupt. About the COVID, how they changed that?
oh, don't get me started on COVID. I'm telling you, I have a lot to say. My kids and
I
I
do
gave.
too, but I'm just gonna put it at this, that, and they
Sorry,
were
Mr.
saying
President.
died from COVID.
Hmm.
They changed all the terminology, and my dad owns a funeral home, so they had to change death certificates to died with COVID because
Mhm.
COVID was not the primary cause of death.
I
COVID
noticed that.
weakens the immune system, but
Hmm.
it's so crazy because people were calling this out. Alicia, I remember you and I talking about this at one point. Uh,
Mhm.
People have been calling this out since 2020 that COVID does not cause death. COVID weakens your immune system like pneumonia does, like the flu does, to secondary infections. It's not the primary infection that
It's a
Yep.
gets death.
causation.
And then here's one. Before my
Mhm.
second COVID vaccine, my heart was healthy. 2 weeks after getting it, I had my first heart attack. I was
Yep.
forced as a nurse to
Yep.
take that vaccine. I was told it was my job or I took the vaccine. So I took the second vaccine.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
now my doctor's like, oh, that has nothing to do with it. But now I'm fighting heart disease that a lot of 40-year-olds are now fighting with. We didn't have this prior. I don't care who says we did, we didn't. I
No, this
buried
is
a
not
lot of
fair.
40-year-old
We did not.
friends over heart attacks now. And it's scary. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you're talking about,
Who
Crash.
didn't you like?
It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's so devastating that people. I know that our job offered us we could go get it. We didn't have to because we didn't have patient contact or anything like that. But I know that my mom was immunocompromised, so I did it for her. I wish in hindsight I hadn't, but I haven't had any long time complications of it. But I know that my niece, who before the vaccinations was extremely healthy, very active.
Yeah,
Oh,
we did not.
absolutely. Hitler was a
That's a whole
shyster.
thing. That's a whole
That's a
episode.
whole 2 hour
That's a whole
episode.
episode in and
Yeah.
of itself, Crash, but we can do it. And she now has what they call, quote unquote, what, long-term
Mhm.
COVID, bro. So she has a problem with her brain now.
Exactly.
She has a disability due to her brain not functioning. She has massive migraines, debilitating headaches, like muscle fatigue, like all of these things that stemmed exactly from that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, because Fauci was
we were
behind it all,
given
David.
a vaccine that was never tested properly.
Yeah,
Vaccines
we
take
were
years to
tested.
test. They
Not even
take
close.
years to test vaccines out. Years, we know that. Like years upon years for data.
Yeah.
This was rushed. And I don't get it. Like I said, I was healthy prior to it. After it, I came out not so healthy. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect
It
sense
does.
because it
Yeah.
didn't have no time. We didn't think about it. It was just like, okay, we're shutting everything down because of a lady and a bat.
You're
You know what
fine.
I mean? And then, so for me, like, I, I was like, because you remember when swine flu was a thing?
Yeah,
That's
I
where
got very,
Yeah.
very, very sick from swine flu. It was very bad.
I that's where I started to really think about these vaccines. That's when I started like it started to slowly click in my head a little bit. And then I went back to the with the conspiracy theories with that guy and I started thinking about I'm like, what is in these vaccines that are, you know, so it's crazy. Like everything's completely different. Now I understand in order to grow things have to be changes have to be made. But the crap that you put in these things, they go into your body, you know. And then meanwhile, we have our spiritual group going self love, and then we have a group over here self medicate. You know, I don't know. It feels like maybe I'm not even talking about conspiracy theories anymore. I'm just so frazzled with like everything that goes on in the world when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like why? And somebody said like it was like population control, and I could see that being a thing. But it's like for us, I was like, no way, we're not getting the vaccine. That was like no. So when my kids went to school, they came home, they took off their clothes, they put it in the washer, and then they took a shower, and that was that. Just in case I was wrong, you know, you
Yeah.
gotta prepare just in case. Now, not like Karli was a nurse. For me, I just worked from home, so you know, it is what it is. I've always worked from home for a long time, and so just we went through the routine, and nobody got it, and then we sprayed down the groceries. That's when they started doing deliveries. So some good things came out of it, like the delivery for stuff, which is perfect. I love that. But
So one
um,
of the during COVID, I worked at an inpatient residential treatment facility, and when I tell you that the government made it almost impossible for the people who needed the help
yes,
to stay in these places because of the rules, the restrictions, everything else, it was insane. I was not permitted the day that they announced the emergency shutdown in Minnesota. I was not permitted to leave my job because no one knew was permitted into the building. No one was allowed to leave. Residents weren't allowed to leave. But we're stuck in a 8-bedroom home with 2 people per room. Typically, there were 2 single rooms, and all the staff.
yes,
No one could come. No one could leave.
yeah.
I have children.
Everybody was going nuts. You know, we're like, it was crazy. And you're good, Crash. I see your comments. I'm sorry. Um,
Yeah.
so we have those, and then we have like celebrity deaths. Like I've actually been thinking about this all day. I don't know why, but Michael Jackson. So you know how I woke up this morning? There was a guy on TikTok who looked just like oh, what's his name? The guy that plays in that show, Robin Williams.
Check
And
your mic, LD.
what is going on? It's probably the wig. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
y'all remember Robin Williams, right?
Yeah.
So when I pulled up TikTok
Yeah.
this morning, the first thing I saw was this guy that looked exactly like Robin Williams, sounded like him, just like has some great eyebrows. And he was doing all the voices that he did. I was like, what the hell? And that started making me think, like, oh my gosh, it goes back to this Michael Jackson thing. Like, are they really dead? And then they say the same thing about Elvis Presley. Like, are they really gone? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, and it's one of those things, and I
Absolutely.
understand it's for privacy for the families that they don't release all the information and out of respect for the deceased. I get that. However, I can get information on Joe Blow from 4 years ago that was unalived on a street corner in Minneapolis, but I can't get information on Marilyn Monroe and the actual official cause of death.
Well, it's not even that,
And they were public figures. Like, when you're in the public, you're
Yes.
in the public. I mean, I get it. They're people and they deserve their own privacy. However, when all of your life is put out there on the table for every person in the world to see, your death
do
doesn't
you
get to go
remember Brittany
unnoticed.
Murphy? Brittany Murphy,
Yes.
the lady that
Yes.
said Back in Black with the black hair and the winged eyeliner, what's her name?
Mhm.
They had somehow died in very similar ways. And I noticed that there was like a celebrity deaths from like overdose. It was always overdose. But I'm like, some of these, they can't all be overdose. Like, come on. Like, why are we, if they just passed away from like, or they just don't want to be in the public, like, just tell us what's going on. If you actually died from a heart attack, just tell us you died from a heart attack.
Yeah.
And if they're
Like,
really
I
proud
don't
of it,
believe Kurt Cobain himself
yeah.
for a second.
Well, they had a story that I read in a newspaper article. It was a guy that claimed that he was Elvis Presley. They did a genetic test on him, and he matched,
Hmm.
and they buried it. He was in a facility for caretaking, and he's passed away since then. But they did a DNA test on him, and yeah, Tupac
Yeah.
is one of them too, bro. Like,
And then,
they say
It's
that he's
one of
still alive.
those things that, if you look at it, each of these celebrities died while they were on the brink of a decline in their celebrity status.
well, even Michael Jackson, he was so far in debt, it was like ridiculous. But there's been videos put out there, like on social media. Like there was one with a van. I don't know who sent it to me, but where they had seen him go from like a van the night that he supposedly died and then walked into a building.
We
Yeah,
had that on
and
one
Hmm.
of our lives before you put the pictures up.
Yes. Okay. So I was like, I know I've seen it somewhere. Sometimes,
They have a video circulating now of Paul McCartney leaving some posh hotel, and behind him is a dude that looks exactly like John Lennon.
wow.
Like,
Oh,
what's going on in the world? Like, are they just body
they
doubles? Like, I
do.
know they
They
have those.
do.
They have people that
Double, you had
double for them.
doppelgangers, or
So are they just parading them around, or was the doppelganger the one that bit the dust, and so this real celebrity could continue to live on and,
in the
yeah,
go a
world.
little.
It's crazy to me.
It's
Like,
wild.
you have so much money. You're like, what do I say on? Hey, let me put my brain into your people and live longer. What the fuck? Excuse my language, but what the fuck? No.
my but it's
Yeah.
convenient because I was doing this research for our other podcast, that there's so many celebrity deaths that we look into, and there's so much that it hurt. I've been researching this for a week and a half, and I have to step away and just be like,
You
who's
go
that?
you go down this like rabbit hole and it just doesn't stop. That's why
It doesn't stop.
we've done conspiracies one other time and we had to stop because it was like, okay, this is gonna be like a 5 hour segment, and especially like, and I'm still waiting to do the Beyonce thing. So,
Oh
but
my
no,
gosh.
I haven't heard of the Alicia Keys and Left Eye. What is David talking about?
Alicia Keys and Left Eye. Some would say that he could be a conspiracy theory as well.
Have you seen the TikToks of them doing the not mashups, but like the side by sides, like the three dudes that escaped from
Yeah.
Alcatraz that were never found, and then they put side by side comparisons,
Mhm.
facial recognition comparisons of them and the first three astronauts that landed on the moon. Their facial structures are almost identical. So did they escape, or were they taken out of Alcatraz to be put into this
Yeah.
Yes.
thing? Okay,
But it's
I don't know.
also like,
It's
when you look at it, coincidences don't happen like, they do happen, but not repetitively. That's why they're
Yeah.
coincidences, right? Kind of
Right.
common sense. With, Brittany Murphy, with Marilyn Monroe, with Elvis Presley, Tupac,
Yeah.
freaking numerous others. Kurt Cobain. That one was a little bit different situation, and I'm still, the more research I did, I'm convinced that was not a self-deletion. But there's such a distinct timeline in like the last 6 months of their life that you can take that timeline, take any personal identifiers off, and it applies to all of them. And that doesn't happen
Absolutely.
naturally.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
What's going on with my eyelash? Keeps falling.
And just to validate you, LD, Beyonce is not
No.
a real
Say
human.
it.
I agree. I didn't know where you were going with it, but
So
that's my personal take on it.
we have
So
some
I
open
agree.
lives coming up pretty soon. And so if y'all want to come back for that segment, then I would like to have y'all on the Beyonce thing. Like, whew,
I can send you
Shoot, I can join
I,
every
hell
week if
yeah.
you want.
girl, I had to cut Beyonce out of that podcast because we are up to, me and Allie and I, sorry, what are even words? We are up to 46 pages of notes.
That's why you do parts. You do like, okay,
Yep,
part one,
because you go
part two.
down.
Yep, we're
A
doing
series.
this is gonna be a 4-parter. We're doing the first one's gonna be like the definition
Yeah.
of celebrity conspiracy theories, how they kind of come around, that blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then we're doing the part without names, and then the third parter we're gonna go through the 5 celebrities that we were able to like put a stop on and not dive
Yeah.
super deep and drive ourselves insane,
Yes.
and show the pattern that it applies to all of them.
Yes.
David, Alicia Keys isn't dead though. Why? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
So
Oh,
they
she-
talk of
Alicia
Diddy and
Keys
50.
has been alive,
Lucky
and the
Charms.
dinosaurs on camera is AI. They've all been debunked.
I think that was AI crash. Yeah,
They've
I
all
think
been
that was
debunked.
definitely AI.
Yeah, that AI is getting pretty sneaky. I'll tell you
It's
that.
getting good. It's getting
Alicia
good.
Keys is still
Yeah, it
alive.
is. Absolutely.
They had the videos on like where you could hug someone that had
Yes.
passed away, and I was like, oh, my heart.
I can't watch those.
I
They make me
know.
cry.
I know. I was like, oh, that's so. And
I was like, I want to do that with my mom, but I'm already
I
broken, so I don't want to push
I did
myself
it
off
with
the
Yeah, it
roof.
broke me, but it also healed me a little bit.
yeah, exactly. Like
Smooch.
I was watching Justin over and over, and I just watch his eyes over, and then I watch his arms, I just over and over, and I was like, this cannot be healthy. And then like the next day, I went back looking at it, and I'm like, God, that's so good. You know? But we
Yeah.
are running out of time today. We usually go for up to an hour. But we're gonna
Okay.
post this on Spotify, and y'all know that comes with Spotify, Amazon, Audible,
YouTube.
YouTube. Yes, YouTube is growing, and if you're new here, thank you, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We will come back and do this again with everybody, and well, so we love you, and I hope everybody has a good night. Stay safe, stay in trouble, and of course,
Blessed be. Love.